Welcome to Civitai.com, the home of the generative AI art community. If you enjoy this video, please consider hitting us with a like and subscribing, as it'll go a long way in helping us continue to bring you the highest quality AI community content. Please enjoy the video.
Welcome, everyone, to the Civitai.com Twitch stream. I am your host, Ali, Civitai's Community Engagement Manager, and we're about to speak to a very special guest. We last spoke almost 6 months ago, and I'm excited to have them back to talk about a project which the entire community are intrigued about. A lot of invested people in this one. But first, if you've somehow stumbled upon this stream and have no clue what is going on, we, Civitai.com, are a platform for the creation and sharing of AI-generated art and tools to make that art. Think ArtStation or DeviantArt, but for AI artists. We have a huge community in the multiple millions, a 90,000 strong Discord community, and a burgeoning Twitch community. We've been around since 2022. It was our second birthday on Sunday, actually. We're still growing rapidly, and we'd love it if you could check out the site, Civitai.com. Now, you all know who our guest today is. It's in the stream title, and it's why I'm channeling everyone's favorite pony, Princess Twilight Sparkle. I don't always look so fancy. That's right, we're going to be talking to Pony Diffusion creator. For those of you who don't know, and I don't expect that to be too many, Pony Diffusion version 6 is a text-to-image diffusion model, which, after its launch earlier this year, rapidly became wildly popular with the community. And it continues to be an absolute powerhouse for generations. So let's look at some stats real quick. When we last looked at Pony on stream, about 5 months after the model launched, the model was already wildly popular, and it had 19,000 likes. It had 173,000 downloads, 36 million on-site image generations, and 15,000 reviews. Now, comparing that to today, 5 months later, 10 months since launch, we've got 45,000 likes, 468,000 downloads, and this is an insane 160 million on-site image generations with Pony, and just over 41,000 reviews, still overwhelmingly positive. So phenomenal stats. And I can also reveal that out of the 3,500 LoRa's that we train every 24 hours, now let that sink in for a second, 3,500 LoRa's every 24 hours on Civitai, the vast majority of those are Pony-based. So we have established that the model is popular, but what's in store for the future? So let's introduce our guest. I am honored to announce that with me today is none other than Pony Diffusion creator AstraliteHeart. Big round of applause. Thank you. Really good to have you back on the stream, man.
Hi, Ali. Thank you so much. It's great to be back, and honestly, my ears are red after all of the praise I've heard from you. And hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I have cool things to show and hopefully some really great news to share. Ali was kind enough to be the presentation master going through my slides today. I brought some slides. So thank you once again for doing that. One disclosure, you will see some early preview images. They are all from V7 Micro. It's a micro model, so don't expect them to be jaw-dropping, but I still hope they will get you excited.
Fantastic. I'm excited. So firstly, let's start off. What has been happening? What is new in Pony World since 5 months ago when we last had you on stream?
Yeah, it's crazy to think that V6 came out more than half a year ago. And, we spent most of the time just making sure the next model is good. I think V6 popularity was kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it was absolutely amazing seeing the model's impact, but on the other hand, its expectations so high that for a long time I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to do something better.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
That's hard to follow. Mm-hmm. It's super hard to follow Pony version 6. I understand that.
Yeah. But when the Pony started to get popular with like all the popularity, there was just a lot of busy work around that. Largely looking at numbers going up. That's always exciting. But I think for me, what that proved is something that started as a fun hobby is actually something that I can build on and something that I really enjoy building. So on a personal level, the biggest change for me was actually leaving my Silicon Valley job and starting to work on Pony full time. And I'm pretty confident that without that commitment, I wouldn't be able to get anywhere close to the scope of today's V7 or finish it in the first place. And I think the models at this point will just require more and more attention, more resources, thinking, compute, data, and time commitment to building this models. And until we hit some new tech breakthrough, which I hope we will, but until this happens, we're living in a world of just scaling things up. And I think for another year or two, we'll just have to follow. But I guess besides that, it's surprisingly been pretty calm because majority of time was spent on very hands-down, grueling work on data. It's been months after months of just data, and I'm surprised I've survived working on it for so long because it's not a fun job. It's not an exciting job at all. Adding new data, evaluating data, writing lots of infrastructure. That's basically what I spent months of my time working on. And outside of that, I guess some cool stuff happened. We've got, Stable Diffusion stuff happening. Flux was released. AutoFlow was released. And I think all of these big external events definitely affected the direction of V7. And that's also quite exciting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny that you mention those models. So we had Stable Diffusion 3, which was a bit of a disaster. Then AutoFlow and Flux appeared, and things got quite exciting for a while. And then, as you say, Stability came back and kind of redeemed themselves somewhat with SD 3.5. So talk to me about the impact of those models and what that means for the future of Pony.
Oh, I would be happy to brief you on this. There are a few models available right now. Sorry, my Twitch may be lagging. Yeah, let's go to the burger slide. Perfect. So there are a few models. And unfortunately, I really wish we're at the point where we can just train a model from scratch. But we're not yet there. So we have to rely on something. And the primary thing for us, and I've been talking about this a few times, but if you're not following the whole drama around Pony Diffusions, that's totally fine. We're going with AutoFlow, so we're calling the next model PonyFlow V7, and AutoFlow it's a very special model. I think was very special specifically at a time when it was released, and specifically the version 0.2. It was really good at prompt understanding. Probably the best model at prompt understanding at a time, and at this point in time, it's still maybe one of the best ones. It is very similar to Stable Diffusion in terms of its architecture, at Stable Diffusion 3 specifically. It's Apache 2 license, meaning you can do commercial stuff with it. And I think what's really amazing to me on a personal level, that it's a project that was led by just one person, by Simo, with support from a very small team of engineers from FAL. And it kind of had an unfortunate history. I think when the version 0.3 came out, it wasn't good. It was really overfit on very minor aesthetic improvements, and it did lost a lot of prompt understanding. So we decided, let's skip it, but let's use some of the cool technical stuff that's in the model. We can actually bring it back to 0.2. And, not to say that 0.2 is the best ever, most amazing model. It has some drawbacks. I think because it really never caught up on popularity, it has a lot of negative impacts on it. But I think we can fix that with V7. That's going to be my dream. And there are some limitations. It's VRAM heavy. The tooling support obviously isn't great. And I think on a personal level, the most disappointing part is that it's using Stable Diffusion XL VAE. It doesn't use the new fancy 16-channel VAE. And if you don't know what VAE is, it's basically like puzzle pieces that the diffusion model uses to build the final image because it doesn't work with pixels directly. More channels, better detail capture, and it doesn't really matter for like big things, big faces, portraits. It really matters for background elements like, characters in the background or small details. But I think overall, it is a very, very strong model and kind of like a dark horse, in my opinion, with pun maybe intended. We also have Flux, and I think this is by far the most popular out of the new models, done by members of the original team behind Stable Diffusion. And they made so many good decisions, especially from a perspective of a company building a model. The technical foundation's amazing. It's extremely solid. The model has great aesthetic qualities, great prompt understanding, but as a base model for building something new, it is not perfect. There are 3 different Flux models. The top one is API only, and only the very low-end one is Apache 2 licensed. It is a great model by itself, don't get me wrong, but it is a distilled model, meaning that it was trained to mimic one of their larger models. And training directly on such models is complicated. Not impossible, but is complicated. There are efforts to reverse that, to de-distill the model, but the quality isn't quite one-to-one. Since the model degrades when this is done on it. And it's also when you add like massive fine-tuning on top of it, it's just not clear if it will work out or not. And I think it's a great backup if AutoFlow doesn't work for whatever reason, but I'm afraid of all of the technical challenges, especially at a project of such scale. Oh, and I guess stability, yeah. And also, sorry, I'm gonna ask you to go one more slide.
Oh, one more slide. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. As a reminder, all V7, micro model, but all V7. So stability, I guess they made a comeback. Oh no! Go back.
Back.
Go back to the boxer guy.
Boxer.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Boxer image.
All right. Okay. Stability. Yeah, I guess they kind of made a comeback. There are new models, 2 of them actually. I think they fixed a lot of the issues of the original model, the one that couldn't do basic things like show a woman on grass.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny enough that after all of the talk about safety, they actually turned down the safety factor quite a bit. So now these models can even handle some level of nudity. I mean, the models are pretty strong, especially the new large one. It can create really good visuals. But honestly, after all of the drama and all of the failed attempts to communicate with them about Pony, which I don't know, Pony is like, I don't know if it's a top model, but it's like top 5 at worst, and it's in the Stable Diffusion ecosystem. And I don't know, we've learned more stuff, we've talked to some insiders, and it's very clear that I think they're strongly against working with us, so we still have no idea why this is happening. But they did fix the licensing terms a little bit. They're still kind of weirdly phrased in some areas. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just to say, that's one of the big issues for the community was the license, and they have kind of come through on that one. I agree.
Yeah, yep. It's still weirdly phrased, but it's better. And I think what's the greatest thing is they simplified their whole commercial threshold because it's just 1 million in revenue. And I know that will sound crazy for someone who's working on a model, but hear me out. $1 million revenue is about $80,000 a month. When you're running a company, when you're doing contract work for other people, when you're receiving licensing fees, it's not an unreachable number. And at this point, while I'm here, Fancy Pony, it's all great. There are a team of people who's helping. And when you have people helping you, you need to pay them. So even if this number seems like unreachable today, I really don't want to gamble on Stability AI suddenly saying, no, you don't get enterprise license, go ahead and delete your model. So unless something drastically changes, I don't really think we're going to do anything based on Stability AI's models.
Right. Absolutely. That's understandable. That would be disastrous if the worst happened there. So
Yep.
AutoFlow, however, can you tell us a bit about that, more about AutoFlow? Because I'm sure many of us are at least aware of it, heard of it, might not have used it. I'm in that camp. I've heard good things. I've seen images posted to the website, but I do not have any first-hand experience with it. What is it good at? Is it easy to run? Tell me more about AutoFlow, please.
Absolutely. And I guess I'll have to talk about both like AutoFlow and PonyFlow kind of at the same time, because PonyFlow is right between two versions of AutoFlow. It's in some ways unique, in some ways not. And I've prepared this table of pros and cons to kind of try to summarize what is happening. But I think, as I said, AutoFlow just suffered from really unfortunate timing. It came out at a great moment in time. People were eager for better, larger models. But then Flux dropped, and then Stable Diffusion came back. And it's a very, very strong model. But I think its capabilities have never been truly explored, which is why I'm so excited about just using the data that we have to see what the model can actually do. So the raw AutoFlow is mostly focused on photorealistic stuff, although it can do some levels of cartoons and it has somewhat decent anatomy. Although I'm sure this is something we can significantly improve. It is kind of uncensored in the way that I don't think there was anything special done to make it censored, but it's very clearly lacking a lot of variety of content in the training data, which is another thing that Pony is really good at. And for actually running the model, the basic tools are all there. It's a transformers diffusers model, so you can just use the standard code to run the basic inference. It has comfy UI workflow. Honestly, I'm not sure how good it is, but it exists. But we will have to wait for engineers and creators of different tools to definitely add more support for it. And I think it's heavy on VRAM, that's for sure. And I think there are some ways we can help with that. There are some ways we can help, especially when we just ship the model. But we'll talk more about this a little bit later. Yep, and I have some more cool samples, again, all V7 micro. But yeah, I think the biggest problem right now is the memory usage and the lack of having a quantized version of the model. The raw model, 24 gigabytes of VRAM for 1 megapixel, so 1024 by 1024. You can really go 1.5K on a 4090 or 3090. It needs like 32 gigabytes. And generally, the model is really unoptimized at this stage, and I'm sure there are more stuff that can be squeezed. But again, don't be too worried about that. We'll talk about this. But yeah, and more bad news. Tooling is pretty much non-existent. No control nets will have been trained. No LoRa training script that I'm aware of. But again, given the history, given that it's SIMO, that is not going to be a problem. And I think these are like valid issues. They sound disappointing. But if you look at how other models evolved, other popular models, when they get popular, you will see most of these issues fixed real fast. And AutoFlow architecture is generally very similar to Stable Diffusion 3. So the same stuff that happened to all of the Stable Diffusion 3 models hopefully will happen to AutoFlow. And worst case scenario, if the community doesn't pick it up, we will do all the hard work and do all the bootstrapping after the launch. But the core is basically we need to get this most basic, most unoptimized, most straightforward version out first, and then we can start doing cool stuff based on it.
Absolutely. Yep. Now I see a bunch of people in the chat quite concerned about the 24 gigabytes, but you got to remember, guys, that say just using an example. So Mochi, the video model, released 2 weeks ago, and on release, those guys, the developers, said you're going to need 3 H100s to run this model, and now 2 weeks later, you can run it on 12 gigabytes of VRAM. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about this. This is not how it's going to be going forward. So we know a bit about the models you've considered and the one that you're experimenting with, AutoFlow. Can you tell us a bit about the prep work that's going into this? Because I remember when I last spoke to you last time, we talked about the new tooling which you've had to create from scratch to manage this work and how arduous it was. There were a lot of complications and a lot of work was spent getting to a point where you could even start training. Now, it sounds like you're also in the same sort of situation for version 7 with AutoFlow.
You are so right. I had to go and build so much stuff from scratch, and some went well and some was kind of a bit of a disaster. I think what went really right is that we got to a point where we can actually train the model and everything seems to be working. I mean, that's the biggest achievement. All data is there, the pipelines are functioning, I can generate images from the new PonyFlow model. I think this is the most important part. But oh boy, did we spend way more time than anticipated. There's this engineering meme that plays on Kennedy's famous moon speech. We didn't not because it's easy, but because we thought it's easy. And I think it basically sums up our V7 journey. I definitely heavily underestimated some parts. And the part that I underestimated the most was the captioning. The way I deceived myself is I thought we could just scale what we did for V6, and it would just work. And it really didn't. We had to redo captioning pipeline, I think 3 or 4 times from scratch. It took so much time to fine-tune, collect human data, fine-tune the models again, evaluate them, and then run them. I think at the maximum we were running about 64 high-end GPUs, like ATA 6000, RTX 6000, for about 2, maybe 3 months total. And it's been expensive. These models are large. They cannot fit on regular GPUs, and you have to rent out the expensive ones. But if you really want high density, high quality captions that capture the whole content of the image, that's what you need. Because the better the captions of the image, the better you can prompt it, the better model understands what it needs to create. And also because we are uncensored model, captioning not safe for work content, especially multi-character interaction, it's very tricky. Some models just reject captioning content like this. Some models just don't have the data to do this. So we had to do a lot of manual captioning to teach the model what means what. And we found out that the models only really start to understand the data sets that we have at a level of like about 40 billion parameters. And even if you quantize this model to the smallest size you can go, like 4 bit, it still doesn't really fit into a regular GPU. We also have this massive prompt that we use to caption all the details, and it also incurs additional cost on the memory side. We still use some of the tricks we learned from V6, and what we do is that we tag the image, and then we will use these tags to feed them to VLM for the prompting. The taggers are really, really good at bringing factual information, but the more complex the image becomes, the less useful information the taggers can provide because they don't have the connection between tags. And a very simple example of that would be if you have 2 characters and one of them with red hair, one of them with blue hair, you get tagged something like 2 girls and a tag red hair and a tag blue hair, and it becomes a coin toss of which belongs to who. But if this information is given to the captioning model, especially it comes with character names, location names, and something more obscure stuff, the model, the VLM, really latches on this data and actually go and like caption this image correctly. And I have an example of how it looks in the world of captioning for Pony V7. This both a caption, but it also kind of the way you are going to prompt the model. The score underscore 9 remains. I promise you, you will have the compact version now, not the full long string. This is fixed. You have the typical safety classifier, the ratings thing. You have the super artist. We'll talk about this more. Super exciting stuff. You have the dataset selector. Then you have a really, really long prompt that just explains all of the factual information. It just tries to capture the important pieces without like giving any opinion about them. And then we have the style information, and this is a little bit of the general vibe of the image. It basically means that even if you don't really want to use super artist or Ken for some reason, you can still kind of describe what's there. And the model will use these long captions, but we will also be shipping prompt enhancers, so you can just use them, and it'll like you can type like elf girl and it will just give you this whole caption, so you don't really need to think much. But yeah, I think the new captions, massive improvement over V6, and I really hope it will shine through. I'm still a little bit unhappy with the quality, and I think it's great. It's just there's more room for improvement. And we will just constantly rework it. It's going to be a never-ending journey. There are some level of OKR that can be improved, multi-character interactions with more than 3 characters, just a lot of room for improvements, but a lot of this cannot really be fixed with technical means. You just need to go there and do manual work, like caption images and put people and pay them money, and they will just do things. And when it's adult content, it's complicated, but we'll do that. What we also want to do is for people who build things on top of Pony to have access to a similar pipeline. And for V6, it was an issue because for LoRa creators, they had to do their manual captioning and just like do things by themselves. Oh, sorry. And I see a question in the chat, and I realize that this slide is missing. Yes, the part that's missing on the captioning slide is the tags. The tags are after style information. The tags are there. You can still use tags. It's just I am really prioritizing natural language. Sorry about that. Missed that on the slide. But yeah, so LoRa creators had to basically, they had to do things on their own. We didn't give them any information that would help them. But this time we will be releasing Captioning Collab. It will take some time for us to fine-tune smaller VLMs, so it can actually fit into a somewhat accessible GPU. But you will be able to put an image, and you will get a caption that's similar to this. Oh, and aside from that, I think generally things went good. Data acquisition was efficient. No complaints. We had to do some manual data checking, add more ratings, especially given that we have more data sets and more diverse types of data. Like the V6 aesthetic classifier didn't handle realism well, so we just had to sit down and like rank a bunch of images. I had a lot of concerns about the V6 aesthetic classifier, and this is the thing that powers the score underscore 9. And I was not sure if we're doing it right. So we spent a lot of time in V7 making sure that we are actually doing things right. And turns out we're doing them maybe not the absolutely most efficient way, but still pretty well. Like no reason to immediately change it. And we wasted tons of time on that. But I guess in the end, we confirmed that it's all functioning. Yeah, artist classification, I guess, is the part that I was really uncertain about. There are pretty much no models right now open or commercial, that do super artists at the scale that we want to try. And there is really nothing to refer. There's like no research in academia to do this. There's no examples. So we were completely on our own. I think it worked really, really well in the end.
Wow. Okay. So there's something there I'm going to come back to. But I find the whole process absolutely fascinating. I'm sure many people don't realize how much work actually goes into getting this pipeline up and running. So the thing that I wanted to bring up, based on what you just talked about, is a bit controversial. And when I spoke to you last time, I had no idea that it was something that you had received a lot of heat about from certain corners of the community. And it is relating to your decision surrounding artist names. You mentioned before that there would be changes to this system in any new Pony version. And you've already mentioned the super artist concept. Can you tell us what's changed there?
Oh yeah, the whole artist removal thing still gets people angry. It's one of the reasons why I'm a cartoon pony, not a real face in front of you. But I think around version 2 of the pony model, I made a decision to remove artist names from what the model can understand. And really, people really don't like this decision. A lot of people don't like this decision, but it's a decision I'll always stand by. I think there is this just like weird antagonistic relationship between artists and people working on AI, but I never saw it that way. And I always believe that we all can benefit from cool, highly tunable and amazing new tools. But there needs to be some level of respect and direction on how we use them. Pony was primarily built as creativity tool, and I didn't want it to be just a copy machine for someone's style. And sure, styles aren't legally copyrightable, but as someone creating the model, I just didn't want to go that direction. And this decision did hurt the model quality, though. Having artists in your training data and in your prompts just helps to bias the model towards good outputs in multiple ways, actually. If you're using a skilled artist name, it creates a strong quality bias toward their style. And you also usually use artists that specializes in something. Like if you're creating a character, you'll pick up an artist that's really good at characters, and you're not going to use someone who's really good at cars. And if you remove this information from the model, just completely wipe, which is what we did all the way until V6, the model, as it's being trained internally, has really nothing to latch and separate the styles of different images. So it kind of lumps everything into a single default style that is hard to avoid. And this is one of the reasons why you can look at art and in many cases say, oh, I know this is like this specific model most likely was used to this. So in V6, we tried something different, and the artist names were there, but they were hidden. They were like encoded in a way that you cannot easily prompt for them. And it did help the model because it learned actually about style differences, and I think it had good effect. And together with the static scoring system, the score_9 and all of that, that worked pretty well, but also still had some limits because aesthetically pleasing is just like one scale. You have amazing sketches, you have cool 3D art, 2D art, 2.5D. It is very complicated, and the model has to learn this overly complicated relationship. And in a way that actually helped Pony, because I think it yielded a lot of interest in building loras. And I know there are tons of artist loras. I'm personally not a big fan, again, but if people want to do them, they absolutely can. And there are actually a number of really cool general style loras like 80s anime or 2.5D. And that's great. Unfortunately, you now need to have this massive collection of loras that you jungle around and like load and unload. And I wanted V7 to be a little bit easier to use, and basically we can just have some of this stuff inside. And what you're actually seeing right now is basically a 2D representation of a lot of different styles that exist in movies, anime, cartoons, digital illustrations, pretty much anything that's captured in an image. And this is basically where we saw that we want to do what's called super artists. And the idea is that if we can look at all of these different styles, and if we can group them somehow, for example, let's call it, like artist group 5, that will have a couple of artists that kind of look similar, you can get the general direction, again, like 80s anime, for example, without copying any specific artists. And obviously doing this manually, pretty impossible task, especially, you have like at least tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of different artists. So you need AI to do something for you, fix it for you. So we built a model that takes an image inside and it returns a set of coordinates in what is called latent space. It is basically like a set of numbers that can encode all of the possible styles the model has ever seen. And the cool thing about latent space is that similar styles end up close together in its space, which allows you to then find clusters of data. And if you visualize the clusters, you can clearly start seeing something that's just all together. Actually, I have a next slide for this, I think. So we ended up with, think about 1,000 clusters. It's just an example of one of the clusters. Each cluster is at least 70, usually about 100 artists. Something that we found, something that's very interesting, and not complete work of artists. It's actually an artist there, but not all of their works will be in one cluster, because rarely an artist will have one distinct style. And actually, I think the average is 3.7. At like simplest, you can think of it, some artists have sketches and some artists have full color stuff, right? So, but in reality, even if you look at their regular style, they're going to be like subgenres that even humans have issues identifying, but machines, after looking at a lot of pictures, they're really, really good at figuring it out. And the end result of that is that you can use these groups to bias the model to go towards specific style. And majority of these groups are generic. Separating content and style, it's a big problem. Sometimes an artist will only draw ponies, and that's all they will do. So like, if their style means that it's always a pony in a picture, or maybe a car, so you cannot always say, we only judge the brushes, the lines, the content has impact. And I think somewhere there, we ended up with a cluster that is 2.5D Anthro dragons. That's all that cluster can do. I have no idea why, but you can find the cluster at some point, and if you're into Anthro dragons, that's amazing. And I have the very last illustration to kind of like elaborate on the group similarity. So every point here in the cluster is an image. And the blue ones is basically a single cluster. This is like Pixar-ish 3D type animation. And if you just go and start exploring all of the images in this cluster, you will see that they have all similar style. And this is how you know, clustering actually works. If you show someone these two pictures, they will say, they're kind of following similar style. Gotcha. Sorry, I'm gonna sip on my tea now.
Gotcha. No, okay. So that is really interesting. That's a very interesting implementation you've got there. Wow. So speaking of the capabilities of this model and how it's driven by the data that you've collected to put into it, these clusters are driven by this collected data. Speak to me a bit more about the data. How has the data set changed since version 6?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Pony is a data project. That's why, model selection, obviously important, but it's absolutely all about the data. It's at the core of the model capabilities. And I think that's why I literally spent so much time collecting and fixing it, and I hope it will not take months between releases anymore. I think our dataset is in so much better shape now, and it's going to be a foundation for many more models. We'll keep improving it, but it's going to be incremental because the jump from V6 to V7 is massive in terms of data amount, in terms of composition, depth, breadth, and it like significantly overshoots I've done anything for like V1 to V6 pretty much. And for comparison, V6 was 10 million images, so the whole big data set that I had was 10 images. And we picked about 2.6 million images based on a static classifier. And only half of them was even captioned. For V7, the full data set is about 35 million images, and we filtered it down to somewhere between 7 and 10 millions. There's still some deduplication happening, some like extra stuff, but more than 7, less than 10. And we're aiming to cover at least 90% of what gets into the model with real captions. And we had, I think, about 4 different groups for V6. Pony, also, the source notation, right? So this is how you select the model, a part of data set that you want. So we had Pony, anime, furry, and Western-ish art with 30% safe for work, 30% sensitive, 30% adult-oriented content. So you can roughly say if the model was like balanced, that half of it was safe for work, half of it was not safe for work. So in V7, instead of 4 data sets, we have 30 data sets. The new ones are not as large as the original 4, but in total, they, I think, easily overshadow the original 4. We have realistic images now, way more background, object data, cars, the items, and much more anime. I think historically Pony wasn't good at anime, which is kind of hilarious to me because we learned that Pony is actually being used to aid in anime production. So I would really like V7 to be able to generate something that looks like extra high quality anime. But one thing that we learned, something surprising, if you look at anime, like, what an actual anime motion picture, and take still frames from it, they are really not good. We don't notice that when it moves, but if you just take one picture, usually the quality is quite bad.
Right.
And this what makes me so excited about this new tech, because especially if we start talking more about video, like think of the best examples of animation anime, or think of still images in anime style, like really high budget stuff, like best of Pixiv, for example. And then imagine you can always have that level of quality or even higher quality in your actual animation. I honestly can't even imagine what we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So I can't even comprehend where this will be in 2 to 3 years. AI video is already leaps ahead of where it was even a few months ago. We just partnered with the first providers to bring video generation to Civitai in our on-site generator. It's going to be going live this week with the first 2 video generation engines. And some of the outputs that you can get from that are just phenomenal, mind-blowing stuff. But going back to something that you mentioned, distribution of the safe and the adult content. Can you tell us a bit about safety? Now, I know that's a dirty word in the community, and I can already hear the cries in the chat of censorship, but being realistic, it's not something that we can ignore. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess you guys are the absolute expert in this domain. So I can only imagine the horrors you have to go through. But safety is a topic that we have to think much more about right now. And because this is something that will be a conversational topic, we should talk about it proactively. There's a lot of misunderstanding and there's a lot of worry about generally model censorship. So the best we can do is talk about this openly, talk about this thoroughly. And Pony is unique in many ways. It is uncensored model. And I know a lot of people think that Pony's adult-focused model is actually not. It was never intended to be that. But it was also never meant to be some super safe rainbows and unicorn things. I mean, some unicorns, that's not the point. A model that can generate whatever you are thinking about obviously can generate bad things. And it's not always necessarily bad. We don't want to be thought police or tell you what you can and can't do in your own home on your own computer. I personally think of things like large language models and diffusion models as extension of your thought process, like your brain. And from that perspective, obviously, any censorship in that area sucks. Like, it happens in my brain. The computer is just like a thing that's happening to me. But, because training these models takes significant resources, and because there are so many cool things that we want to continue building, we have to try to at least find the right balance in what we do. And I guess first thing, like the primary thing, V7 will remain capable of generating both safe for work and not safe for work content. Nothing really changes here. And there are some types of content, especially around, for example, underage characters, that we do not want our model to be able to generate easily. And it's a very complicated balancing act, because when you start messing with the model, it gets fragile, it breaks down, and you get woman in grass example, right? And I think we've been trying to do it in some soft ways in V6, and it worked reasonably good. And it was a combination of dataset cleanup and some training techniques. And I know, like, a lot of people say, like, yeah, well, you can build a LoRa on top of Pony and like do whatever you want. And I think it's fine. Like, if you want to do something like this, go ahead. It's just not something that we want to build or we want to make easy to do. And the fun thing here is, when we run it on our Discord, or when we go and give our model to our partners, we have all of the safety tools. So we can, analyze the prompts, we can analyze the outputs, so we can always stop you from generating something really bad. But from that perspective, closed source models actually greatly benefit from, remaining not open source. We don't have that benefit at the end of the day, because we're still giving people local models, and we want these models to be as capable, as accessible as possible. So yeah, we have to keep balancing. And I think the only really new thing for V7 is, given that we are looking more into realism, we really want to prevent easy deepfaking, or the model being able to easily replicate existing humans, celebrities. I mean, no one wants another Taylor Swift issue. Right. But yeah, Pony remains uncensored. It remains a creative tool that follows what you want. Don't like what it does, go train a LoRa or fine-tune the model. You have the local model, do whatever you want.
Okay, perfect. I think that makes a lot of sense. Sensible precautions, but not fundamentally altering the capabilities of the model. I'm happy to hear that. And for the people of the celebrity one is, absolutely a valid point. We had to put in place on Civitai, we had to put in place some protections there around celebrities, just because, like you said, you want to continue this into the future. It costs a lot of money. This is a real business, and you've got to be very careful nowadays with that sort of thing. So sensible precautions. That makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now for the big one. I've got the big questions coming up. Where are we with this whole process? How far off from release are we?
Well, I don't have a specific date, but I have a rough timeline, hopefully, that we can present. And we just finished the big data preparation phase, many months of captioning, cleanup, more data. And, we will keep doing some of that, that's for sure. But I think it's done enough for real V7 training to begin. And you've seen some early previews. They are from the micro model. It's exactly like the big model. It still requires 24 gigabytes of VRAM. It's still a slow model, but it's trained on like a really tiny subset of images, only a few thousand images, and it's less than half of a day. Although, we use like 800s, and I think we're already seeing results way better than I expected. I think AutoFlow is actually a much stronger model under the hood that we thought. It just that was never fully unlocked to present its all capabilities. And we fed it like 1,000th of a single epoch of training, and we're already seeing this very, very nice result. And I think what we're going to do is so the data preparation, there are all kinds of processes happening, but we'll take the first probably 2 million images, train it for 1 or 2 epochs while the rest of the data like being finalized. And then we'll take the full data set and then push it into the model. And for context, when we have all of the data ready, so basically to train 1 epoch, and 1 epoch means that the model has seen every single image at least once. It takes about 3 weeks, something, maybe 3 to 4 weeks, and it costs about like $50,000 per single epoch. I have no idea how many epochs we will need. V6 was 20. I really hope we don't need 20 for V7, given how AutoFlow is reacting. But, we'll keep training until the model is really good. And yeah, I guess, given that, for the release strategy, we have our own Pony Discord. We, this is where the community originally started. This is where I post all of the preview images. And I think these are the people who's been with me for so long that they deserve the first dip into the model. So as soon as they have something, not like a final version, but, something that feels functional, the Discord subscribers and then the Discord users will get access to that. But when we get to what feels like, a real deal, a V1 of V7, sorry, V7.0, I guess, we'll go to everybody on our Discord. And we actually have some cool stuff that we have in the pipeline. And actually, I'm super grateful that we can talk about this. So we've been partners with Civitai for a very long time. We value this partnership a lot, and this partnership gave us so much. But there are things that are limiting on Discord. There are things that are limiting on third-party platform, and we want to try building some interactive tools, some stuff that no one really has, some workflows that just don't exist. So we're going to have our first-party applications actually, and this is going to be our experimentation space. We will be launching Pony Model V7 there first. We will have some cool stuff like AI prompting, the things that I mentioned, where you just type like an elf girl and you have the full prompt and it just looks beautiful, which by the way also will be public. That model will be public, everything will be public. And we're going to focus only on Pony models. That's all we're ever going to be doing. No other models, and most likely no lores, just the rawest way of experiencing V7. And as soon as we're done with that, it's all early access on Civitai. You go to Civitai, you play with the model, only for inference first. You can download it, but it will be there. And then we have a few other partners that, they helped to buy compute, they helped with other things, not anywhere close to what Civitai did to us, but we still want to say thank you to them. So they'll have an early dip. After all of that done, and we're talking about like a few weeks of time frame. So, we're not talking about like 6 months. It's just a few weeks, maybe month and a half, maybe 2 months, maybe less. We will have specific timelines out. You go and download the model. It's on Hugging Face. It's on Civitai for download. We will keep this model open. We will push as many tools as we have, as many documentation as we have. There will be a commercial license. Again, if you like, using it in a way that actually earns you money, we want to be part of that. But if you're a local user, if you're generating images and selling, just go crazy. Nothing really changes. The only thing that really is changing in a way for us is that we're trying to be careful, given just how expensive the training costs. Like, we just have to be careful, and we cannot just ship it everywhere immediately. We have to do it in stages. And I guess as soon as we've done with all of this massive set of releases, we are going to build heavily on the ecosystem, something that we didn't do for V6, and I think that was a big mistake. We're gonna train our control nets. Specifically, I want to focus on the pose and facial expression. If you're using Sketch, Depth, any other control nets, please voice your opinion, because I don't use them. I don't know if they're useful, but if you think they are, please tell me. And we're going to start working on the smaller models, because, again, no one can afford the 24 gigabyte GPU. I mean, NVIDIA made sure that they're expensive. So we want everybody to be able to use these models. And at bare minimum, we will have quantized models. So, you will get to like maybe 8 gigabytes. But even better if we can do a distilled version, kind of what the low-end Flux is. So we will have our, Flux Schnell, right? Hopefully. And after that, the next project is called PomniGen. The OmniGen models recently came out, and they are really cool because they can generate images, they can do different type of editing stuff, and overall, like, amazing models. And it definitely deserves more attention. And I don't think we're going to use it for image generation, but its editing capabilities are amazing. And we have all the data in the world, all the data sets of like editing things. So I would be really excited. And again, like talking about the first party apps, to try this like editing workflows that are purely descriptional. You just say like, hey, not enough clauses, put more clauses. And it just like does it for you. And that's it. That's all you need to type.
Wow. Yeah, that, and also that name PomniGen is absolutely hilarious. So, yeah. So
thank you.
So hearing all that, I'm based on the timeline there. I'm hearing soon, trademark TM, but still a ways to go. And I must say though, going back to one point, I'm stoked about quantization. That's something that we're looking at implementing into the core functionality of Civitai. It's rapidly become huge for image generation for people who might not have the big cards, the most expensive cards with all the VRAM. So very interesting there. Now, okay, looking into the far future, imagining that version 7 has released, it's out for download. Yeah, it's surpassed version 6 in uptake. It's popular beyond your wildest dreams. What next? Is this an iterative thing where you'll move on to the next big technology available? There'll be a Pony version 8 based on this new amazing model. Or do you have plans in other areas? So I remember the last time that we spoke, you showed us something that originally you'd made using like StyleGAN back in the day, before diffusion models really, which was actually way ahead of its time for what it was. Do you have any plans to revisit that?
No, I will be riding into sunset with all of the bars from Civitai. That's the only thing I'm gonna do, and like go to Hawaii and I don't know,
lie on
watch
the beach,
anime and play video games. Yeah, right. Yeah, on the beach. No. I'm kidding. I think the pony journey never ends, but in a way, while we'll continue working on images, and I really hope that it's not going to be like V8, completely new thing. We're gonna like incrementally work more and more, better and better tools. It's going to be like the whole next year, just like incremental improvement. But I think after we're done with V7, it finally will be time to get back to the real roots of the Pony project. I did mention the last time that the whole reason I got into the text to image was that I was working on this framework to bring characters to life. And like 3 years ago, it's like way before character AI or anything like this, I had these demos of like you can talk to Twilight Sparkle and it will blink at you and it will smile at you and like they will have a voice. And I like the thing that just made me so really angry at a time is that the quality of all of the like the image modality quality just was bad. And we're talking about StyleGAN, and I spent so much time on StyleGAN and like just was not yielding any good results. And that's the reason why I had to go into image generation more. I didn't expect it to become so popular or take over all of my attention, but I think it's finally time to go back to those roots. And I really want to build an experience that is actually focused on like narratives and conversations with these characters. So it's going to be like an interactive character focused application using Pony for all of the visuals. So you can think of it as an extremely advanced chatbot ability to actually talk to the characters you like. And I really hope that what Pony did for the open image generation community, we can bring into the world of text-to-speech and large language models and beyond. And, along that, if all of that works, if the models keep advancing at the speed they're advancing, if things are becoming like better and better, I think video is the next frontier. And I would really like to see where we get there in maybe like a year or two. I am personally super, super excited about video.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. That's definitely the future. Looking at what's coming to the website, looking at the services that are popping up, and the quality of those videos, very exciting stuff. So I know that we're coming up for time here. So as we've been chatting, a bunch of questions have come in from the community. If you wouldn't mind, let's throw some at you for a few minutes. Don't have to answer them all. We won't have time to cover them all, but let's try a few. So I've got one in here. First-time chatter, thanks for joining us. Asking if there's any plans to open source the captioning model and taking that further. You've built a lot of tooling in the background to make this actually happen. Any chance that any of that will become public in the future? Is it something that the community could use, or is it very specialist stuff?
The captioning models are going to be public. It's in turn VLM based. Just the problem that the 40 billion model that we use right now is very heavy. I think Colab has GPU that can run it, but we would really like to go to 26 billion parameters. And then there are a bunch of things around because the whole captioning pipeline is multiple moving pieces. So we will package them into a single Colab, and you'll just upload an image, and you will get a caption out of it. But you'll be able to download the model from Hugging Face.
Wow, that's exciting. Goodness. There's one here from Violent Fox. AstraliteHeart, will you address the hands problem specifically? Now, I don't know if this is even something that can be fixed, because ST 3.5, one of the claims that Stability made was excellent hands. And it came out and, hands are pretty bad. Is there anything that can be done here, or is this just something that we're stuck with? Flux has got good hands, I suppose. We have been getting better. We've, over time, we don't have 1.5 hands, which is good. But I feel like while everything else has really progressed, we've got much better, higher quality images, beautiful images, but hands have stuck in the past. Anything that we can do there?
I mean, obviously not a problem for Pony Diffusion. We only care about hooves. Who cares about hands? But seriously, I think Pony 6 was one of the few first SDXL models to actually get hands and feet reasonably well. I don't think it was perfect, but I think it was at least okay. And I think it's a data problem. You just need tons of examples of hands. And I don't know if we will immediately fix it in V7. I think it should be better than in V6, but it may require some synthetic data eventually to get it better. So I do not know. I hope that we will actually have a higher quality, noticeably higher quality than V6. Will it be completely fixed? We'll see. But it's definitely a big thing. It's on the radar, and we keep evaluating how it works.
Sure. Okay. So one other question, which has come up quite a few times since you mentioned it. Can we just clarify? So, the VAE model with AutoFlow it's not the what's it called? The 16 channel VAE. It's the SDXL one, right?
Correct. Unfortunately, it's the DXL. It's one of the weakest parts of the model, in my opinion. There are multiple things we can do about it. I mean, the first one is we do nothing, and we train the first version with SDXL. As disappointing it is, there's so much cool stuff in the model. I think overall it will be a huge improvement. But the second option is we do model surgery, and we swap SDXL model for Flux model, and then we train it a lot, like pump it with data, which we do anyway, and it adopts the new YE. And it's unclear, like there is very little research on it. It's unclear if the model will like really benefit from it, but it should be at least able to, adopt this new model and function with this. And the third option is we make V7 really, really popular. And if you look at like Simo's Twitter, for example, Simo is the author of AutoFlow. I think we've got that guy excited about things. So who knows? Maybe there is something in the future and we can use it and it has 16 channel YE. So I wouldn't be like, I would think about it as a process more than a one singular thing. Okay. Yeah, so, who knows, maybe 7.1 or something. But again, don't worry about this too much. It's a good concern, but like not the end of the world.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Now, one here, natural language captioning, big thing nowadays with Flux and with 3.5. It's coming. Your example that you had on the slide there did have natural language captioning applied to that prompt. But you mentioned that there was also tags that weren't shown. So it's kind of a combo effort.
Yep.
In the chat here, they're asking, only English. Does it have any concept of other languages?
No, but part of the thing that we will be releasing, we'll have in the Discord bot, whatever, we'll give it to Civitai, we'll release it as an open model, will be a small LLM that accepts one caption and produces another caption.
Oh, wow.
So the goal of it, very small 1 minute tangent, but the way you train model on captions, the diversity of captions, the dropout, what you put there are tons of conflicting information. There is the academia approach, there is a practice, there is whole mass of things that you have to try, but you have to commit to something.
Right.
And what we're doing for V7 is big homogeneous captions with a bunch of data in them that is the best way to describe the image. So the best way to prompt the model is to follow the same exact strategy. Now, of course, writing this massive prompt is not like something you want. Sometimes you want like very particular control, but sometimes you just want to type like one or two things. And the goal of this VLM would be to take your intent and convert it into something that the model can operate really well. And one of the things that we are going to do in this model is support other languages. We are going to have Chinese, English, hopefully Korean, and hopefully Japanese. So a few different languages. And you will be able to prompt that VLM in whatever language we support, but it will output English-based caption that is compatible with the model. So it's like an adapter that just gives the model what the model expects, but give you the ability to do whatever you want.
Gotcha. That's really interesting. That's a great approach. I like that very much. Yeah, so we are coming up for time here, I'm afraid, guys. But so on that note, let's wrap this up. I would like to thank you very much on behalf of the Civitai and the entire community for coming on and for sharing your updates with us. To everyone watching, for the latest updates on this project, keep an eye on Civitai.com, join our Discord server, and also join AstraliteHeart's Purple Smart AI Discord server. I'll put the link in the Twitch chat right now. Obviously, a great community of Pony Diffusion enthusiasts in there. That would be an excellent place to keep an eye out for the very latest information on this. So always a pleasure to have you on the stream, AstraliteHeart. Thanks for taking the time to join us here, and we really look forward to having you back in the near future as this develops.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate having me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Finally, for those of you who caught the tail end of this stream, I know I could see in the chat that some of you came in a bit late or missed the whole thing. The VOD will be up on Twitch shortly, and we'll get the video edited and captioned and uploaded to YouTube this week. Now, today, before I go, at 7 p.m. Eastern, that's 4 p.m. Pacific time, I believe, Tyler will be streaming a Laura crawl with Cosmic Crafter, so please check that out. But Tyler will be out from the 14th through the 25th, so he will not be running streams this week on Thursday and Friday or next week. You'll see me next on Wednesday for the regular office hours. I won't look so fancy, I'm afraid. At 5 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Might be able to do something Thursday and Friday to take Tyler's slots, but we'll see. So until then, take care, have fun generating, and I will catch you all later. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I really had a blast on this stream. Looking forward to this. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.